Right, so we drew our little frog in Inkpad, and now we're going to go ahead and digitize him. And so this is what I worked on today, and I'll show you the step-by-steps of how I did it. So first thing we want to do is go ahead and start a blank page, and then I believe I'm in my 150 by 150 hoop, so we'll just assume that. And to do that, I'm just going to go preferences and just check. And actually, yep, I'm 150, 150. Okay, good. So then I'm going to go make sure I'm in my create and go grab my image. Now, since I actually had done the original video, I actually changed things up because once I actually started to work on it, I needed a different order of digitizing. I wanted to try to minimize my jump stitches as much as possible. So this was the new layout that I decided on. And actually, the first couple stitch outs I did, his little front feet had been applique, but they're really just too small, and I decided to switch them to a fill stitch. So, you know, I think as you get more and more experienced, you'll start to learn what makes good applique, what makes good options for fill stitch. So, all right, so now why do I have all these little black shapes here? Because I'm actually going to use the magic wand to help me very quickly select each shape, determine, you know, its stitches, and then when I get all done with that, I'll move the image out of the way and then move the stitches to where I want them in the center of the hoop. And then I'll have to tweak kind of where my ending and start stitches are, so I'm going to show you how to do that too, because that's a very handy thing to start thinking about as you are digitizing your own designs. So, all right, so really it's just a process of going through and doing each object. So I'm going to make sure I have my magic wand tool, my applique, and we'll go ahead and do that. Right click, and it's going to run, but we'll pick applique, and I'm going to go here, and I decided my first stitch out I did a density of, I think it had density of 4 with a stitch width of 2.5, and it was just way too dense and way too thick, and it was starting to actually make my fabric separate. So you don't want that. So I switched it up to 6 and a 3.3, and that looks really good. So I'll show you a photo at the end of the actual final stitch out that I did. So, all right, so that looks good. And also I used my silhouette to cut out my shapes. So I'm not going to do a material stitch. That's when you would choose here if you're going to do a material stitch, and if you want it to be inset at all a little bit, you can. Right now I've just kept it at 0, 0, and I did not do a material stitch, and it worked out just fine. And I'll show you how to do that silhouette output file and show you in Silhouette what that looks like too. All right, so let's just keep rocking and rolling. Now what I noticed here, and right click to finalize it, it's not doing my defaulted satin stitch, so we'll just go ahead and pop our settings in. And now I'm going to switch over to a fill stitch because I know that I'm going to go from the leg over to his next little front paw, front foot. So I'm going to do that and click fill, right click, and it's going to run. I don't know why it does that. Somebody tell me why it does that. Okay, and actually I've got black as my thread, but I'll change this over as soon as I get all my things set. Right click, I want that to be applique, not satin border, I want it to be applique. Good, and I remembered my last settings, so that's good. All right, and then again we'll just click on his little head, right click, applique. Good. All right, so let's see what we have going on. All right, so we've got all of our appliques here. Let's just go ahead. I'm going to shift click. Actually, this will switch to a fill, so we'll make that back to applique. And I'm going to control click. Actually, I'm going to just control click on everything. And I want to go to one color, and I'm going to pick 1330 sage grass. Boom, all green. Yay. All right, so now we're ready to do the next section. So the next part we're going to do is his face, and that's going to be a fill black. So we'll switch that back in just a second, and that's going to be fill. And I want to go my mouth first, right click, and I want that to be a fill. And that's black, so that's good. And then I start and end here, so I'm going to want to go, I think, up to the eye next. Right click, then to his little nose. Right click. Oh, I see what I did that. So it's creating that white background that what ended up happening, guys, when I did my ping, when I brought that first image in, it had this weird colored background, and so I ended up putting a white in. And so when I click on that white background, it's thinking I'm selecting that white background. So all you have to do is just click on that and click delete. Good. Delete. Oh, because I'm in the magic wand. If you're in the select tool, then click delete. And so we're going to go back here, go into create, and I want that to be a fill. And now we're back in business. All right. Now I'm not zoomed in at all, so that might be helpful. So I'm actually going to zoom in, use my space bar to position. All right, so we got a fill, and now let's do our last eye. Fill it. All right, awesome. Okay, so now we've got the face all done. Let's zoom back out, and then we'll come here to white, my magic wand tool, click. And let's go find our lily white. Where'd you go, lily white? There it is. All right, right click and fill. Good. All right, magic wand. Click, right click. Awesome. So I'm just kind of keeping track, and this switched over to a fill. We don't want that. We want it to be applique. Awesome. That switched to a line. Want that to be a fill. And I want my color to be white again. So just keep an eye on your objects here. I'm sure it's just because of me just, learning how to navigate back and forth here. So okay, I've got fill, got my magic wand, select that, right click, fill stitches, and then I want my color to be a red. So we'll just go find a red. There we go. Okay. So we've gotten all of our objects digitized. And so I'm going to go and take my image, go back to the select, move that off of the hoop. And now we're ready to go ahead and move our objects into place. And then we will go and adjust. So I'm going to do my applique, my fill there. Bring that down and position it. There we go. Make sure my applique is covered. My head. Bring him up. And then I'll go grab all this face. So I'm just going to control click. So I keep that together as a group. And I can see I already have a problem that my eyes are going to be too big. And we can fix that. Let's go get his mouth, put him into place. And then my eyes. And we're going to fix the size on those two here. Okay, so let's zoom in. Let's go back into Create. We're going to zoom in. We're going to select that eye object. I'm going to use my space bar to kind of bring that down. Excuse my dog for his barking. That's Oscar. Whoops. There we go. Move that to where I want it. Let's get my other object. Resize that. Put that where I want it. Awesome. So I'm going to resize my other eyeball. So this is so easy, guys. We just have to go through, grab it, make it the size we want it. That's still a little bit big. And I know it's kind of a bummer to have a thread change just for that little bit of white, but it really does bring life to the character. So great. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom out. Now this is at this point, when I got to this point, let's actually move his mouth up a little bit. And then his little tongue is too far too. Let's see here. Good. Okay. And I think I'm gonna move the leg over just a little bit because I don't want my stitches to be hitting each other. There we go. Cool. Okay, so now I decided I would get kind of fancy, and I had seen on other applique files where there's a bean stitch on top of the satin stitch. So what I want to do is I want to create that. And I want the actual bean stitch to go around everything but that main first part of the body. So I'm going to select all of those, and I'm going to go edit, copy, and then edit, paste. Oops, I don't want delete. Edit. Oh, undo is what I want. Okay, let's make sure we get everything back. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to go edit, copy, edit, paste. Now that's going to put it all the way down here at the end. And I don't want those at the end. I'm going to actually right click, move earlier, and do that just a few times here to get it moved up. Now earlier I was actually able to grab everything and just move it with my mouse. Let's see, and when I do it, it wants to rename, so I don't know why it's not letting me do it now. That would be nice if I could just move it and drag it, which I did it earlier. So I don't know why I can't do it now. All right, so we're actually going to change all of this to a run stitch. And then we're going to go here and we're going to do a bean. I think I did a 3 on my original design. Okay, let's just go look and see what I did. Yep, 3. Okay, so back in the recreation here. I actually want to change the color of that too. So I've still got them all selected, which is good. And color, I'm going to go one color and I'm going to just make it a darker green. And we'll just, that's fine, just so that it's darker so we can see the difference. All right, awesome. Yay, we did it. All right, so we want to make sure that we save our file. And I actually had, this is this one. So we'll click save. Okay, so that's going to take a second to save. And then what I want to show you guys is before you go to stitch out, what I recommend you do is go actually open your embroidery file. So not the working file, but the embroidery file, because you want to make sure that it's gotten rid of those duplicate stitches there for the applique. And it has. That looks really good. And at this time, I want to go ahead and kind of watch the stitch out. And I did not adjust my jump stitches, so we might take a look at that really quick too, but let's just look at the stitch out. And I like to just kind of grab it. And I see it's going doot, 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 doot. That looks good. All right, awesome. Okay, so back in, that's my original. So we can go out of those. Okay, so let's just take a look at, if I go into create here. Okay, actually this is the actual stitch file. So I'm going to go back and open up my working file. Here it is. Okay, so let's take a look and see, do we need to do anything and move our starting and end stitches. Okay, and yes, we do need, I've got a little bit of craziness happening here. So let's go ahead and zoom in. And remember we did our body, so let's just select that one first, and we start and end there, when really we could start and end down here by where the leg starts. And what I'm doing, I'm hovering my mouse, oh, see, until it tells me it's got that stitch. So you'll see the mouse change. And if you need to, zoom in. And then I got my applique. Use my space bar to move things over. I'm going to grab my start stitch, bring that to where it ended over here, and over here. Okay, so that's looking a little less crazy. And then the fill starts there. Applique starts there. That looks good. I'm actually going to move. It ends there, so I'm just going to make it be. Oh. All right, there we go. Okay. Applique. Okay, so now my run. And actually, I need to change my order because the applique starts here, and then we're going to have a thread change. And then, yep, I guess we can start here. That's fine because we're having a thread color change. So there's going to be a jump anyway. And then I'm going in that same order. So let's just make sure where our start and ends go. All right, so that's, so again, we're going to want to just move this over. All right, then our run here, that looks good. Oh, actually, let's do the end stitch. And if I zoomed in, that might be a little bit easier to do. All right, let's zoom in there and see what's going on with those points. That's kind of driving me crazy. There we go. There we go. I want my end to be over here. And then my start. Okay. So that's all I'm doing, guys, is I'm just kind of moving things to where I'm trying to eliminate as much of this craziness with the jump stitches as much as I can. And, you know, definitely post your comments below if you have some tips. But I would love to hear them. That would be awesome. So I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go along. Jump. Okay, so that's where I don't want, well, and that's fine. Yeah, I'm just going to move it over here. There we go. Okay. So it's boom, 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 good. All right, so let's take a look and see what's going on with our mouth. Then we've got our eye, then there, and then there. That, okay, so let's go adjust those. Zoom in. There we go. Okay, that's good. That's good. And then we have a change of our colors, so we look good. All right, so save stitch and working. And that should be it. So that's my first swing at doing some digitizing of an actual piece of artwork that we created in Inkpad. And now let me go ahead and show you a picture of the final result. Well, actually, here is a picture of some examples. Let me tell you about each of them. Okay, guys, actually, I forgot to tell you that before we actually look at the stitch outs, I wanted to show you how easy it is to get your silhouette cut file. So I had forgotten to put that in part in the video. So you can just select any of the applique shapes, click on applique, or actually color, click on the applique position, then go to this applique tab, and we want to save all. Okay. I did not inflate mine. The first run I had inflated, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. If you don't have a thick enough satin stitch, it won't cover it. So again, play with these settings. If you have a silhouette, get some scraps together, get some simple shapes together, and see how things stitch out. So then you'll know what kind of your margin is for inflating here. But for me, 0 was great, worked great with my 3.3 satin stitch. So you want to go ahead and hit save all, and then you're going to just go ahead and give it a name. So I'll go frog pieces, click save, and then just cancel out of here. Let's go whip into silhouette real quick. And this is just my working file that I did, but let's just open up the new one that I did so I can show you exactly how it comes in. Frog pieces. And there it is. So it's in the layout that it comes in, that it is in the actual embroidery file. But, obviously for our fabric cutting needs, we need to move it around. So what I did was I made extra pieces and then laid them out on my mat. One of the things you can do is use these guidelines. So if you know that your piece of fabric is 4 by 6, let's say, you can put your guidelines here and then move your guidelines, and then you know that, my little piece of 4 by 6 fabric is right here in the corner. Make sure that, I don't have any overlapping pieces, that kind of thing. So, all right, so that's how that works. Let's go ahead and look at the stitch outs. Okay, on this first one, the feet just were too small and didn't catch. Obviously, the other pieces were too big, so I had a lot of fraying, so that's not good. The second time, I fixed the feet, so that looks good, but on the one leg, it only did one running stitch. So you really have to make sure you go through and check, and that's why stitch outs are a great idea. And this was the final result. Got everything fixed. I elongated the running stitch and made it a bean stitch. Thanks so much for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe.